Men who know how to react but don't know how to process before they react. Men full of anger but empty on guidance. A lot of young men today are not evil, not at all. They just lost. And when boys grow up without emotional discipline, direction, structure, or mentorship, society ends up paying the ultimate price. So how do we change that? Something to talk about.
He got his ear to the streets to talk about. So when you hear Shayne speak, to talk about. Yeah. There's a new message every week, something to talk about. So when you hear Shayne speak, something to talk about. Yeah.
What up, y'all? This is your boy Shayne Speaks. Welcome to another episode of Something to Talk About. Thanks for joining me today, tonight, whatever. Thank you. I appreciate it. Listen, I know it's raining like crazy. You know, my studio office is being bombarded by rain. Hopefully it doesn't affect my audio. Let's get right into it. I'm going to talk about emotional intelligence, our young boys growing to be men. All right? Look. A lot of young men today, they are not suffering silently. Well, they're suffering silently, but loud. It's like an oxymoron. They're silently suffering loudly. I'll explain what I mean. See, they're not suffering because they don't feel emotions. They're suffering because they were never taught how to deal with emotions properly. So when I say they're quietly suffering emotionally, loudly, it's because they hide how they feel until it's so compacted, so close together, so tightly close together that it explodes loudly eventually. And that's a problem. See, what happens is pain turns into anger, confusion turns into aggression, loneliness turns into emotional shutdown. And one of the biggest problems affecting our young men today is the absence of fathers. And when I say the absence of fathers, I don't only mean physically absent. Some fathers are physically there. Some of them are present. But emotionally, they're unavailable. Because a lot of them wasn't taught emotional intelligence. A lot of us wasn't. You know? I'm going to speak for myself too. A lot of us wasn't taught that until we got older. But we got to make a change. Because when boys grow up without guidance, without affirmation, without correction, and without emotional intelligence, emotional leadership, when boys don't learn manhood from healthy men, they often learn it from pain and survival. And nowadays they learn it from the internet. And don't get it twisted. The internet is teaching facts. A lot of young men, they genuinely don't even know what direction truly is. You know, they don't know what direction looks like. Nobody taught them discipline. Nobody taught them emotional control. Nobody taught them responsibility. So when society is like criticizing them, you know, without even asking, well, who prepared them? Who prepared them? That's wrong. That's foul. That's foul. You know, many boys, they taught something. Yeah, they taught something from a young age. Yeah. You know what they taught? They taught to man up, to stop crying, to be tough. So, you know, instead of emotional intelligence, what they actually learn is emotional suppression, how to suppress their emotions. And Emotional suppression, that goes nowhere. It doesn't disappear. It comes out eventually. Know what I mean? It comes out through anger, through depression, through violence, addiction, emotional detachment. However it exposes itself, it will eventually expose itself. Right? Now, social media. Social media is teaching our young men what masculinity is supposed to look like. You already know that's not a good thing. Most of that is toxic. Some young men, they think masculinity means never showing emotion. Some young men think masculinity means dominating everyone, having money at all costs, constantly proving toughness. That's what they think masculinity is. But real masculinity is deeper than image. Real masculinity, that includes discipline and wisdom and leadership, protection, self-control, emotional maturity. Yeah, that's what true and real masculinity includes. That's what that is. You know? Listen, man, like a lot of young men today, I was angry. But, I didn't fully understand why. Today, our young men, they angry at life. They angry at society. They angry at themselves. They know exactly why. But see, anger without purpose becomes destruction. And when pain has no direction, it often turns inward or explodes outward. That's a fact. Like a grenade underwater implodes and a grenade out of water explodes, right? So now the question becomes, how do we help raise emotionally healthy men? How do we stop losing young men emotionally? That's the question. First of all, mentorship is a critical thing. Young men need healthy role models. They need healthy male figures. Not perfect men, but real men. Men who can guide, men who can correct, teach, encourage, and lead by example. Sometimes one mentor can change the entire direction of a young man's life. I mean, when I think about some of my childhood friends and how much of a positive influence they were in their son's growth and development, I'm truly not amazed. I'm also just proud to see my peers have successfully raised their boys to become great men. It's a proud moment for me. Like I look at them and I say, wow, man, he's doing great. My God did a good job. Young men need consequences. They need standards and responsibility. Because without accountability, immaturity, it grows unchecked. And when it grows unchecked, it turns into a monster. So we just have to teach boys emotional intelligence. Our boys, we have to teach them emotional intelligence. We have to teach them how to process emotions. Instead of hiding them, we have to be able to teach them how to communicate. Self-awareness. We must teach them how to express frustration without destruction. Because if not, we're going to continue having the problem that we've been having for years now. Listen, being emotionally intelligent does not make a man weak. It don't. It makes him balanced. And our young boys growing to be men, they have to be balanced, man. They need some balancing. Word up. They do. They need some structure, because structure, it creates stability. A lot of young men, they living without routine, without order, without direction. But structure builds that. Structure builds focus. Structure builds discipline and confidence. We got to really instill these things in our young. Another important thing is discipline. Discipline teaches young men how to control themselves. And they have to learn how to control themselves. Even when their emotions are unstable, when they go out of whack, they have to know how to control that. You know, discipline helps transform potential into purpose. And society that ignores the emotional development of our boys, honestly, society eventually suffers from the emotional destruction of men. So those boys that was ignored, they destroy society. For real. A lot of young men don't need more judgment. They need guidance. They need direction. They need healing, purpose, and examples worth following. And we have to be those examples. So let's do our job, man, so that when they get older, they could do their job. Anyway, it's your boy Shayne Speaks. And this is something to talk about. Peace.